In this film, Sabah opens up about her journey of being diagnosed with ADHD much later in life and what changed after. This film is a reminder that neurodivergence doesn't always look like what you expect, and that it's never too late to understand yourself.
When the diagnosis came at a much later later in life. I was about 48 years old, and before that I always wondered, like what was wrong with me? Why wasn't I fitting in? Why didn't I have friends? Why couldn't I maintain relationships? I mean, I was good at making friends, but when it came to having these long-term relationships, going back and forth in friendship, that used to be a problem. And various issues. I think out of my impulsivity, I've bought so many things. I mean, like one day I wanted to be a chartered accountant, the other day I wanted to be a special educator. So it kind of just going out at night drives, being a little bit reckless, zoning out when things were not of interest, like when people talk and they kind of repeat themselves, I used to zone out. Now when I was diagnosed, it kind of gave me this, it was like enlightenment. Oh, it's because of this. And now, because I knew what it was, I mean, what the reason was, I was able to make a lot of changes. Rather than being in and out of therapy, I made a point to stick to therapy. So I think that was my longest period that I was in therapy, was like 6 months. And it was only because I knew that I would want to leave in like 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, maybe a month. But I didn't, because I knew that it was my ADHD telling me to quit. So I didn't. I got a diagnosis from a clinical psychologist, and then I had to get myself re-diagnosed from another clinical psychologist, because I just wanted to be sure. So I got all my family involved in it. And I guess the reason that I wanted to be sure was because, when you say that, okay, you might have ADHD, people are like, oh, everybody has ADHD. And that kind of puts you in the self-doubt whether you really have ADHD or it's just, just something very regular happening around you. At around 48, my work profile changed, and I was suddenly I was supposed to mentor this group of people. And, when you're doing that, you have to be very particular about meetings and times and, things like that. And I actually struggled with that. I struggled with organizing the whole thing. And I would often miss meetings. And I didn't even remember whether there was a meeting or then or not. So it got to a point where I was actually struggling at work, which had never happened before. There were emails which were unsent because, the procrastination bit kind of took over. So at one point of time, I think I had thousands of emails which were like, my inbox was full. I used to prioritize the work emails, but that I was even struggling then. So that's where I thought that I think now something is like seriously going wrong, and I think I need help. So I went to a clinical psychologist for help, who later diagnosed me with ADHD. So the first thing that I think that really worked out for me is that I changed my job. I'm in a place where inclusion is in the DNA there, right? So it's like not just me, we have various people who have hidden and visible disabilities there, and that makes it easier. It's more of a people's organization where they spend a lot of time talking to people. So a lot of time was spent with me, talking to me, and any kind of changes or accommodations that I needed, those were discussed, and that really helped. It was also something like moving from a regular 9-to-5 job to a more flexible routine. So now I'm like working from home, I get to travel, and also a lot of strategies that I used to use with my kids with ADHD, I started using with me, such as, like simple visuals now and then. So now I know, like if I can see these 2 things on my desk which I need to do, I know they'll get done. But if they are not there, it'll be like out of sight, out of mind. I started using the emotional wheel that I use with my kids because of all the emotional dysregulation that's there to, like really get to the root of the problem and then do something about it. I've started putting hourly time, like alarms on my phone, so I don't lose track of time because of all the time blindness that's there. But the emotional dysregulation is still something that I'm like kind of struggling with. I'm trying to get there. I started medication, it didn't help, and so yeah, I'm just trying to, I'm trying to uncover my ADHD flavor. Let's see where it takes me.
What are some challenges you experience with ADHD?
I have people that I know, but friends, very few. Those who have just stuck by me, I think I can count them on my fingers, there are like 2 of them. So I went through therapy. There's a research that says that children with ADHD listen to 20,000 more negative comments till the age of 10 than their non-ADHD peers. That's like, if it's like a lifespan till about 10 years, that's like 5 more negative comments a day. And that really puts your self-esteem down, right? So for a child who's hearing a lot of negative comments, it's so easy to have these social anxieties and fears and phobias. So I think therapy is like really important to unravel it. I was in therapy for 6 months. My therapist started me on medication. She later faded it out. So I've done that. That helped me. And the first time that I went on medication, it was like, oh yeah, this is like really interesting. So the first time I took that medication, I was like, this silence in my mind. I mean, what is this? Because at times I felt that I just need to, like detach my head and keep it somewhere so that I'm like at peace. And I was like, I asked my therapist, like, do regular people are always like this? She was like, yeah, your mind isn't always working. I was like, my mind has been working for 48 years. What happened? I mean, so yeah, I think with lifestyle changes, therapy, medication, I think they all have their place. You just need to find out what works for you. I still struggle with a lot of things. Like, if I don't have an alarm on my phone, I know I won't know how much time has passed. If I don't have those visuals on my desk, I might not get any work done. I still struggle with impulsivity, but I'm like, if somebody comes to me and says, can you do this? And before I would be like, yeah, just bring it on. Now I'm like, just give me 5 minutes. But sometimes even that 5 minutes doesn't work. And I take on a lot of work, which kind of, again, is a problem because you can complete so much. So there is impulsivity, there is executive dysfunction, especially with, controlling your emotions.
Do you have any advice you'd like to share with others who have ADHD?
It isn't all bad. Because I know ADHD has also given me hyperfixation, which is like such an important tool to reach professional excellence. Like, just find your passion. It's more like a it's more like an interest brain and a disinterested brain, right? If you find your interest, you hyperfixate, you'll be there. But if it's like something which is not of your interest and you get into that profession, boy, you've had it. That you have ruined your life. So just look for your ikigai. Your ADHD will be there helping you out too. It has its good days and bad days, so that's okay.